My name is Linda. I am a mother of an overdosed daughter. I'm a wife, and I am a mother again, raising four of my daughter's six grandchildren. It's been about almost 8 months since my daughter died of an overdose, and there has been so much grief and pain to kind of work through, and much of it has been just the devastation in my relationship with my daughter. But there are walls that I come up against on a pretty consistent basis of things that I just don't know how to navigate past, and I don't know if I will ever navigate past them. Like, for an example, within me, there are two very distinct realities. One, the minute that my daughter died, or not the minute she died, because I don't know when she died, the minute the police told me that my daughter's body was found, this relief washed over me, followed by peace, and then followed by guilt. And that kind of described the inner conflict that has been with me consistently since she died. I so love the peace. Yesterday was Thanksgiving in our home, and it was the first Thanksgiving that we had. There was no meltdowns, there was no peace, there was no suspicion of drugs or theft or crying or yelling or people hiding their things or people waiting for the other shoe to drop in tension. It was the first Thanksgiving we ever had without peace. And it was the first Thanksgiving we ever had without my daughter there. So, in the midst of all that peace, equally and as much, there is a part of me that misses my daughter terribly, loves her immensely, and would do anything to hear her laughter, to see her smile, and to get a hug. So, how can two of those things that are directly polar opposite of each other exist in one person? It reminds me of the two places where the oceans meet. There's this distinct line, and either of them cross over, and that's what it almost seems like. It seems like there's this distinct line, like every day, all the time, I think about my daughter, and forever there is a sadness that persists in me, that stays with me all the way in me, and it's a deep part of who I am. And equal to that, there's a freedom, there's a peace, and there is a, I don't know, safety that also exist. And again, those two places don't cross. When I watch her kids, there seems to be the exact same thing. And I don't know if those two lines ever cross, or if I end up on one side or the other. On an everyday basis, I have this huge awareness in me that I deeply do not want to go through the utter hell that we went through with my daughter in her late stage addiction and her bipolar. I've no desire to be woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning with somebody frantically crying, telling me there's worms in her and could I please take them out, and panicking and persistent. I do not want to ever have to go through my purse again and notice that my money is missing. I don't want to ever have to pull up my camera again and discover people in my house doing God knows what when I'm at work. And I never want to wonder what she's doing with her children when I'm not watching. Is she giving them drugs? Is she saying things to them that are so grossly inappropriate? I never want to go drag her out of the house half naked, beaten up, probably raped, and watch her slowly die every single day. I don't want to watch my daughter unable to grasp reality anymore, unable to complete a simple task and have enough education and enough experience in this field of substance abuse to know and understand that the people that I've seen that get that deep into their addiction, they use that long and they tear themselves up to that kind of level, they don't come back. I don't want to see my daughter in that state again and realize that that is the best it's ever going to be. And I know that a lot of people were kind of shaken by the post I made about not wanting her back. But I can't even begin to put into words how absolutely gut-wrenching it is when you look at your daughter that doesn't look the same, has damaged herself. So even sobriety won't make her look the same. Her mental health will never be the same again. It's like watching somebody with dementia. You lose them and they lose you, and there's no turning back. It is horrible to make that realization and go, my child is gone. My daughter is gone. I will never ever see my daughter the way she was 3 years ago. If my daughter lived through that overdose, I would never get to hear that laughter. I will never get to feel that safety with my daughter again. And I will never be in a relationship with my daughter where I'm not her caretaker, her reality maker, and somebody that is telling her no about everything, whether she's using or not. Because my daughter had used so much for so long and started at the age of 15 that there was no turning back for her. And sometimes in addiction, that's a hard thing to kind of realize, that everybody has a relapse in them, but not everybody has a recovery. And my daughter didn't have recovery from either one. My daughter did not have a sobriety left because she died. And my daughter didn't have a recovery left because if she survived the overdose, my daughter would probably be in a mental health facility, require lots of mental health care and lots of care on a daily basis, because she couldn't even believe the things around her. She was so completely vulnerable. You could tell her there were vampires living in the house, and she'd be huddled up in the corner crying, and she could not get into reality about that. She could not stop believing her delusions, her hallucinations, and in the end, we didn't get to see her anymore. We only got to see the remnants of what she once was. When we looked at her, sometimes I could see a reflection of my daughter in the face of that addict. But as soon as that addict opened her mouth, it reminded me that my daughter didn't exist anymore. And I've not seen people come back from that. And there's this reality that if my daughter would have died, I still wouldn't have got my daughter back. And if my daughter would have lived, the hell for those children, the agony and hell for my daughter, and the hell for me would have continued to go on and on and on until it eventually killed all of us. And it was working on killing us. It was killing me emotionally, mentally, and it was absolutely killing her children. Her 15-year-old, with her mother's pushing, began to experiment with alcohol and marijuana. It was slowly getting to all of us, and it was going to take us all out. And I know that as much as I miss my daughter, the very best place for her is someplace safe, and that safe place is in heaven. And the best place for her children and the best place for everybody that loved her is a place where we can heal and we can remember the good about her instead of being reminded every single day that she's gone, and that shell of her, that addict, is the person that's there now.